Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, January 8th, 2026. Stand up for your country. This is an important broadcast. It will teach you a lot about not only the conflict in Minneapolis with ICE, but the world. And I'm going to go through this in a very methodical way. We always want your feedback. Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com. Now, as you know, our mantra is people believe what they want to believe. And that's about 90% of the population, the human population. So, you know, facts, not a lot of facts matter. It's all emotion. They believe what they want to believe. So within minutes of this terrible shooting in Minneapolis, people were forming sides. All right. The left, which does not want immigration enforcement, they were demonizing ICE. And the right, which does want the federal government to control illegal immigration, was demonizing the left and some, but not too many, the actual victim herself, who was a leftist. Okay? Now, I'm going to go right through this in the talking points memo. So obviously, up top, anybody celebrating the death of another human being needs to see a psychiatrist. So let's get that out of the way, virtue signaling, whatever you want to label it. Nobody should be dead. And it didn't have to happen. And it happened because of bad decision making. That's why this woman is dead. Her name is Renee Nicole Good. All right, she's the mother of 3 children, including a 6-year-old son. She's a lesbian. She lives with a female partner. Why does that matter? Because it's not clear now where the younger boy will wind up, and I'm very concerned about him. 15-year-old daughter, 12-year-old son, they live with their father. Okay? So we're always very concerned about children in situations like this. Now, her mother, Ms. Good's mother, says she was not an activist, but she was. She's a very ardent liberal, and my sources in both Colorado, where she lived, and in Minnesota, she wasn't a bomb-throwing Antifa, but she was emotionally involved in left-wing causes. So the first bad decision which led to her death was she should not have been interrupting a federal investigation, which she was. And she had parked her car to try to impede federal agents. That is a terrible decision, particularly when you have 3 children. Now, I'm not blaming her for her death. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just saying that bad decisions lead to bad outcomes. Okay? There's no reason on earth why that woman should have put herself in that kind of jeopardy. And if you watching me tonight anywhere in the world do the same thing, you're likely to get hurt and you may die. You do not impede authorities on the job. Anywhere, anytime. You do not do that. That's not protest. Now, right after the woman was killed, you had this unbelievable far-left garbage saying that she was a legal observer or some kind of crazy stuff. She was not. She was breaking the law. That's obstruction of justice, what she did. All right? Now, the most important thing that I have said so far in this whole reportage, I repeated last night on Cuomo. Roll the tape. Well, number one, I'm not going to second guess a law officer. That's cheap, and I'm not going to do it. All right, I wasn't there, and anybody doing that should reevaluate. Number two, this is a story about bad decisions. And in your life, in everybody's life, if you make a number of bad decisions, you're going to pay the price. Okay, so I do not think it is fair for anybody to condemn that officer who shot Ms. Good. What you would need to make a decision on that is enhanced videotape. As you sit in a room, it would go frame by frame from every angle. And then you would need to hear the agent himself testify what his state of mind was. These are split-second decisions. It really angers me. I'll tell you what, you see these people on television do this? I really think it's so immoral, but I'm not doing it. Okay? I am not doing it. I have been in situations, wife death, guns involved. Okay? I know the adrenaline flow. I am not going to pass judgment on that man. Not. And I didn't pass judgment on Ms. Good either. I just said it was a bad decision for her to be in a car impeding a federal investigation, blocking it. Now, the bad decision making goes back to Joe Biden. That's where it goes. That is the genesis of this story. So you allow millions of people unsupervised to come into the United States, you're going to have a criminal element come in, and they're going to kill people, which they have. And therefore, your decision-making, Mr. Biden, has led to death and destruction, and has led to now President Trump having to correct your terrible decision by employing federal authorities to arrest and deport criminal aliens and others who are not in this country illegally. Remember, they all have to have a warrant. But the ICE is not making that decision on the street. They're going after criminal aliens, okay? And if there are other non-criminal aliens with them, they get swept up. That all goes back to Joe Biden. That bad decision that he made, probably the worst presidential decision of all time, has led to this woman's death yesterday. In addition, the people who run states like California, Illinois, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Massachusetts, and others made a decision not to obey federal law. We are not going to obey federal law. This is rebellion. That's what it is. It's like what South Carolina and other southern states did in the 1850s. We are going to rebel against the federal government. There is an immigration law. We are not going to uphold it. And Minnesota is perhaps the worst, because they won't even cooperate when criminal migrants are involved. That decision-making on the part of Governor Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey in Minneapolis did contribute to the death of Ms. Good, because those two men incited Ms. Good. How did they do that? Well, listen to for yourself. Go.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons. No chance to mount a defense, not even a chance to kiss a loved one goodbye, just grabbed up by masked agents, shoved into those vans, and disappeared.
To ICE, get the f*** out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart.
You know, very early on in President Trump's first term, I discussed this with him, and I said, look, you have a case that you can make against these sanctuary states. The Justice Department can sue them for big money. And that's what should have happened. It did not. It didn't happen. But there's no question that Walz and Frey are inciting, all right, actions against the federal government. Of course they are. You can't deny that. Who could deny that? And this poor woman is caught up in that hysteria. Now on to the Trump administration. When you have a $9 billion fraud perpetrated by a number of illegal migrants from Somalia, when $9 billion is stolen from the American taxpayer, you have an obligation to send Homeland Security agents to the site where the $9 billion fraud took place. That's not an option. That's an obligation. Now, Walz and Frey, they don't care about the $9 billion. They looked the other way. They had to know. They had to know. And they allowed it. So you can't deal with them. They're in rebellion against the United States. So President Trump orders 2,000 ICE into Minneapolis to not only round up criminal aliens, and these Somalis who participated in this fraud are criminal aliens, but to impose a kind of order in Minneapolis, which is lacking. Though, if you want to make an equivalency, you can't, because the President of the United States, it could be anybody, there's an obligation to stop a $9 billion fraud, expose it, prosecute it. Then you have unbelievable media, and I'm not going to get into that today, who, again, they follow the PAC, and the PAC hates Trump. So the bad decision making is, we're not going to try to find out what happened. We're just going to condemn Trump and everything he does. Then you have a de-escalation order. Now remember, every police agency in the country, local, state, and feds, the agency teaches to de-escalate any kind of potential life-threatening situation. That's a fact. Now, you people who are on the side, if you want to use that phraseology, of the police, have to know that. The ICE agents in this case did not de-escalate. They didn't. And that's a fact. Now, I'm not condemning anybody. I'm just saying that de-escalation is the rule of the land in police agencies. A lot of people don't understand that. And that did not happen in Minneapolis yesterday. Okay, so all of these things were swirling around when I went on News Nation last night with the three Americans, Cuomo, Stephen A. Smith, and myself. Roll the tape.
Man, Bill O'Reilly, may I chime in and speak? May I chime in and speak to you directly, Bill? Here's where I'm disappointed, Bill. Here's where I'm disappointed, Bill, in your response. So you can have an opinion about her, but you can't have an opinion about the officer, even though you've seen the video numerous times. You've seen the video. I've watched it 10 times.
I can't put myself in his shoes. I think it's irresponsible to do that.
Okay.
Because I don't know the state of mind of the man when a vehicle is coming at him. It's irresponsible to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Okay. I'm coming to you. Let me be irresponsible. A 37-year-old woman, she wasn't coming down the street going 90 miles an hour. She was stationary. She was still. And then she took off. So you had to move out the way as she was taking off, okay? And you shoot her in the head?
Wait a minute. Let me reply to that. I'm for de-escalation. I support de-escalation. In every kind of a situation, not just this. I don't want to see anybody die. All right? So if I were there, I'd like to think that I would have tried to de-escalate. But it's not fair of me, because I don't know the state of mind of the officer when he sees a vehicle lurch forward, and I'm not going to condemn it. I am not going to do that, no matter how many videos you show. Show it to a grand jury, a federal grand jury, and let them decide after forensics and this and that, and hearing the officer. Okay.
What she did is not worthy of the death penalty, but it's about where you start the chain of causation, Stephen A., with about why they were there in the first place.
Well, I wanted to throw out this question to Bill, in all honesty, because I appreciate his candor. I don't agree with his position totally, but I respect it, and I respect where he's coming from. What I would ask you in return is this, Bill. So, of course, where things start, that matters. And we understand that. That was instigated by her action. Some people was on the left will say it's instigated by ICE because they shouldn't be there, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going there.
Stephen A., you got a big vehicle coming at you from 10 feet away. That's a situation.
He was right in front of the car.
And let the people deliberate on it. There is a system. All right? And I will trust what the people in a federal grand jury or whatever forum decide. Not us. And that's the right way to handle this. Now, there is a report that the federal government is not turning over all the evidence to the local authorities in Minnesota. I'm not surprised by that. The FBI does not trust law enforcement in Minneapolis. They simply don't trust it. And neither do I, because they're under the orders of Walz. And Walz is a fanatical anti-Trump in rebellion to the United States guy. That's the truth. All right. Now, going forward, the Trump administration is not going to capitulate to this, and they shouldn't. There has to be order. The laws have to be enforced. But the sanctuary places, you got to take action against them. You got to stop this. All right, these sanctuary people, the FBI should interview Jacob Frey and Governor Walz and say, look, you're on the verge of incitement here and rebellion here. That's where you are, because that's what the truth. You can't have this. And we had it before the Civil War, and anybody who's read my book, Killing Lincoln or Confronting the Presidents, knows it. You can't allow this stuff, or you're not going to have a country. Okay, so finally, we're going to say on a story. And on Monday, we'll encapsulate it again. But I'm going to offer mass for both the victim and the officer on Sunday. I want you to know that. And that's a memo.